There are over 600 people on California death row. Edgardo Sanchez Fuentes, 29 years on death row. Sanchez Fuentes and accomplices committed 7 takeover-style armed robberies of Los Angeles area businesses from December 1991 to May 1992. During one robbery, Sanchez Fuentes and his partner shot the store owner to death. During another robbery, Sanchez Fuentes used a stun gun to coerce victims to unlock a safe. In the final robbery, he shot to death a police officer responding to a silent alarm. William Suff, 29 years on death row. Suff killed 12 women and attempted to kill a 13th over a 2-year period. He strangled his victims, most of whom were prostitutes, and gave some of their possessions to female friends. Ignacio Tafoya, 29 years on death row. Tafoya shot 2 men to death during a drug-related robbery. Regis Thomas, 29 years on death row. Thomas killed a man after an argument over mistaken identity and later shot to death 2 Compton police officers who had stopped him on the road. Mark Thornton, 29 years on death row. Thornton, then 19, abducted a woman from a parking lot, killing her and stealing her car, which he then used to abduct his 16-year-old former girlfriend. She escaped at a casino in Nevada. Randall Wall, 29 years on death row. Wall killed an elderly man and his partially blind wife. Wall once lived with the couple's granddaughter in the house. Leroy Wheeler, 29 years on death row. Gang members Wheeler, Stanley Bryant, and Donald Smith fatally shot 4 people, including a 2-year-old toddler, in a drug-related dispute with 2 of the victims. Joseph Aguayo, 28 years on death row. Aguayo was already in prison for the attempted murder of a woman when a DNA match linked him with the 1979 essay and killing of a pregnant woman. Lamar Barnwell, 28 years on death row. Barnwell killed 4 people in one night, including 2 men shot in the head while they were kneeling. That killing was witnessed by a police officer responding to a woman's screams. Barnwell's other victims, a man and woman, also were shot in the head. He was convicted of 3 counts of murder and 1 count of second-degree murder. Raymond Butler, 28 years on death row. Butler killed 2 college students and, while in jail awaiting trial on the case, he stabbed another inmate to death. Charles Case, 28 years on death row. Case, on early parole after being convicted of essaying 5 women, killed the owner of a bar and the customer as he forced them to kneel in the bathroom. Robert Cohen, 28 years on death row. 10 years after the murder of an elderly Kern County couple during the robbery of their home, a recheck of crime scene fingerprints implicated Cohen. He was also charged but not convicted of the robbery and murder of another man found dead at home 3 days after the first slayings. Cohen's brother, a participant in the first murder, pleaded guilty to lesser charges. John Cunningham, 28 years on death row. During the robbery of an office furniture store, Cunningham bound 3 employees and then shot each in the head, setting the building on fire as he fled. Rick Davis, 28 years on death row. In 1986, Davis kidnapped, essayed, and killed 12-year-old Polly Klaas. Davis had a long history of convictions for assault, burglary, kidnapping, and robbery. The murder led to passage of California's 3 strikes law. Keith Doolin, 28 years on death row. Doolin murdered 2 Fresno prostitutes and attempted to kill 4 others. Dennis Irvin, 28 years on death row. Irvin killed a Lassen County Sheriff's deputy responding to a report of domestic violence. Richard Foster, 28 years on death row. Foster had a pattern of finding women alone and then returning to rob them. He fatally stabbed a woman working in the minister's office of a church. Freddie Fuyava, 28 years on death row. Fuyava killed a Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputy in an exchange of gunfire during a gang sweep of the community. Richard Gamache, 28 years on death row. After discharge from the army, Gamache, his wife, and an accomplice abducted the couple to steal their horses and trailer. They took the couple to the desert where Gamache shot both. The man died, but his wife survived. Albert Jones, 28 years on death row. Jones had served 3 prison sentences when he and a 15-year-old accomplice hogtied and stabbed to death an elderly Riverside County couple during a robbery. Eric Leonard, 28 years on death row. Leonard killed 6 people during a string of robberies in Sacramento, including at a pizza restaurant and a convenience store. Darrell Lomax, 28 years on death row. Lomax killed a store clerk during a robbery. Edward Morgan, 28 years on death row. Morgan attacked a woman he met at a club, rammed sharp objects into her private parts, beat her head against concrete, and strangled her to death. Michael Pearson, 28 years on death row. After being fired from his job as a receptionist at the Richmond Housing Authority, Pearson returned and shot and killed 2 former co-workers. Clifton Perry, 28 years on death row. Perry and a partner were convicted of murder for the 1995 shooting death of a store clerk during the robbery of a convenience store in Kings County. His accomplice was sentenced to life without parole. Jerry Rodriguez, 28 years on death row. The owner of a Visalia tire shop, Rodriguez recruited a gunman to kill 2 cousins after they gave him $2,000 to order special rims and tires for their car. Christopher Self, 28 years on death row. Self and Orlando Romero, in a 2-month string of crimes, killed 3 people and wounded 3 others as they stole cars and money. Christopher Spencer, 28 years on death row. Spencer was among a gang of men who stabbed and tortured the craft store owner to death. 2 of the 5 men had worked for the store owner and been fired. Keith Taylor, 28 years on death row. Taylor stabbed and strangled to death a woman whose home he burglarized. James Thompson, 28 years on death row. Thompson, who had served prison time in Texas for murder, and an accomplice, took a 25-year-old mentally disabled man to a remote Riverside area. He forced him to disrobe, robbed him, and shot him to death. Alfredo Valencia, 28 years on death row. Valencia, using meth, stabbed to death another man while in his car. Michael Walters, 28 years on death row. In a Corcoran prison for a prior murder, Walters killed his cellmate, stabbing him 170 times. In 1995, as a 19-year-old gang member, he fired a shotgun at people leaving a party, killing 1 and wounding 2 others. Daniel Whalen, 28 years on death row. Whalen and 2 accomplices gained entry to a house under the pretense that their car had broken down, then shot a man who was watching the property. Michael Wisenhunt, 28 years on death row. Wisenhunt was found guilty in the death of his girlfriend's 19-month-old daughter, who suffered severe internal injuries and 3rd-degree burns. Bob Williams, 28 years on death row. Williams broke into a woman's house and stole her credit cards. Fearing he would be discovered, he returned the next day and returned the cards, but then essayed and killed her. Please hit that subscribe button if you like my channel. See you next time. Bye bye.